my fellow clergy and religious leaders and community leaders from here in Oakland. We are part of a broad coalition that supports this tent. Our group is called Interfaith Tent at Oakland, and we support this tent and we support the movement of Occupy Oakland and Occupy Wall Street across the country. We're here to share a couple of very important statements given the events of last night, as well as the events brewing around
area Christian Connection. There was what was called the Arab Spring. Perhaps now we begin the American Fall. Change is beginning. Change that has been needed in our nation, in our people, and in our hearts for a long time. For hundreds of years we've been oppressed as people of all colors, of every nation. Now the change has begun. Last night, in the 11th month, the 10th day of the 11th year of this century, the 101st murder took place in Oakland. That murder was not a part of this change. That murder was a sign of what we must change.
Amen.
We are here, and the change will come. But the heart and the root of that change will be nonviolence, peace, justice, and righteousness. And we understand that those who profit from injustice, those who live off the lives that are lost in our city, will resist this change. But they will be resisted not by ourselves, but by the planet itself, by the God of the universe. And time will show that peace will win out. And our city, the city of Oakland, will be a city of hope, a city of peace, a city of justice. And it begins right here.
Amen.
Amen.
You in Fremont, this is a large clergy group all across the East Bay. And we've been asked, why do we as faith leaders support this encampment? You've been told that this is an encampment that attracts violence. You've been told that this is an encampment that is disorganized. Well, I've been in there. I've been at their general assemblies. I've been down here at our tent leading conversations, and I can tell you that is not what is going on in this camp. And I invite you all to a general assembly to experience that for yourself, because what you will find is, yes, this is a maladjusted space. This is a maladjusted space. Just as Jesus was a maladjusted leader who knew that the system he lived within was broken, just as Abraham Lincoln was maladjusted and did not believe that people who were different should be treated different, this is a maladjusted group who believes we live in a financial system that is broken. And they are bringing change. They are exposing a flawed system, and yes, violence is happening around us. This is a violent city. We are here to be a condition of change, and we invite you to join us into that reality, not the spin the media wants you to see of a scary, broken group here. This is a group that has come together around peace, and we hope you can be a part of that sometime very soon. Please join this encampment.
A letter of support that has been signed by 34 Oakland and East Bay religious leaders, support for this encampment. And I think we have copies of that available. I think in the spirit of nonviolence, we also call on the city that should they choose to try to remove this camp, that it must be done nonviolently. It must not be a police action.
Yeah, right.
Because the police only know one way to act. Unfortunately, they're armed. This is an unarmed encampment. And we need to practice nonviolence. And as a city, we need to demonstrate this new world that is necessary and a new way that is possible. I'd like to ask Reverend Laura to come and talk.
I'm a United Church of Christ pastor. Our arts ministry has been part of erecting this tent because we are for the 99%. As pastors, as faith leaders, we're for everyone. That is what our call is. And so we want to recognize that the business community within a half a block, several blocks has been impacted by what's happening here. We want to let them know that we have done everything in our power within our faith communities to encourage people to continue to be down here, to eat down here. I have several parishioners who work down here. So we want to, as a group, make the statement that we are not just for the people here in this camp. We're for every level of the 99%. And that's what's so important about this movement, is that we refuse to be people who divide against one another. We want to stand with all. And so anyone who says that this, the movement of the General Assembly here or any faith leaders are not for the whole 99%, including the deli right down the block where we've eaten, we're here today to tell you that's not true. Thank you.
We would like to also declare our interfaith tent as a place of sanctuary. We have found that much of what our congregations hope to be, which is a hope of a place of healing, a place of inspiration, a place of hope, a place of creating a better world, that actually this place has become what we aspire our congregations to be. So we have come here to join in on that. And so our intent here is a place of sanctuary for all those seeking economic justice, for seeking righteousness. I want to just say one last word, and then I'll open it up if anyone else wants to say anything. Today is Veterans Day, and I know there's going to be a Veterans March later today. Today is Veterans Day, and as our hearts cry out for the young man who lost his life last night, so systemic of the economic problems our country faces, systemic of the lack of funding in education, the lack of funding for violence prevention, the lack of funding for jobs, the very problems that our economy faces, that we're here because we also realize, I'm going to go back to Dr. Martin Luther King talking about the two great evils in society of militarism and poverty, the two great violences. And that's today on Veterans Day, what we're here struggling about. We want an end to the wars, an end to the military bases and occupations, 1,000 bases across the world, and again, and an end to the poverty, so that the whole 100% of the world may rise and thrive to be in this world as God has created them to be. So I want to just give a moment of silence for the young man whose life was lost last night. Yes. A moment of silence for the veterans who are suffering enormously, even as they return from war, and a moment of silence for all those in the world suffering from military violence and economic injustice. Thank you.